receive a notice of violation on your stormwater infrastructure, whether that's a detention pond, retention pond, a swell of some sort, you need to know what kind of action to move forward to keep you from getting into some larger, more serious trouble. The first thing that you need to know is that if you do not take care of the problem, it's a $1,000 a day fine per violation. Usually you get a notice of violation and they will give you a heads up that, hey, next time you get a letter from us will be 30 days from now. And if it's not in check, you will get a letter that says that it's your final notice of violation. And they will say that they're going to come back 30 days from that letter and they're going to inspect the site again. If it has not been completed, they will give you a fine, and the fine will be $1,000 a day, so that's 30 days, $30,000 per violation. Now, sometimes they'll wrap all the violations up into one, but they have the potential, if they've cited you for vegetation that's too high, a disjointed pipe, and animal burrows in the side of the slopes, well, that's $90,000 on that first violation, on that first fine. I say, well, I'll just take the violation and not pay to get it done. No, you still have to pay to get it done. You say, well, if I don't want to, I don't have to. No, they're going to then go in eventually, do the work. You got the violation now, you got the fine. They're going to come in, the county comes in and does the work, and they're going to charge you on your stormwater tax, and it's going to be more than if you'd called a stormwater professional to come in. So you want to get this thing taken care of. And I'm going to leave you with what steps you need to take once you receive this notice of violation. Notice of violation comes in, it's going to be a letter mailed to you. And that letter is going to be mailed to whatever address is tied to the tax maps. That notice is going to, first of all, have a letter from the inspector that is going to be on letterhead from the municipality so that you know that it's official. And then there's going to be 3 or 4 pages behind that that is the inspection report from that inspector. It's going to say stuff like, vegetation, erosion, sediment accumulation. It'll talk about the fence, but it's 3 or 4 pages worth of check boxes basically. And then at the end, the last page, there's going to be some pictures and just a written out description of what needs to be done. The moment you get that letter, the first step you need to do now is to look at the email or the phone number. I highly recommend email. Keep all communication through email as much as you can. Send an email to that regulator and say, I received the letter. It made its way to me on such and such date, because sometimes whether the mail is running slow or the letter went to the wrong P.O. box and had to bounce around, or it went to the wrong neighbor in the neighborhood or the wrong office in the office complex. You want to tell what date that letter got into your hands, and then you want to assure them that you are taking their violation seriously, and say something like, this letter arrived in my hands on such and such date, and we have looked over the violations that are at hand, and we are currently in the process of getting quotes from qualified vendors. And that is very important. Qualified vendors. What makes a qualified vendor? Someone who has a stormwater certificate. Maybe it's someone who has their SEPSCI license, preferably what's referred to as their post-construction BMP, best management practices. It's a stormwater certificate. That's the one that you really want to look for. If you ask somebody if they have their post-BMP license, and they don't know what you're talking about, I probably wouldn't hire them. But you need to tell in the letter, back to this letter or response that you're given to the regulators, it needs to say, we are in the process of looking for qualified vendors. If you already have a name, a list of names, sincerely me, all right? If you don't know who to contact, say, we would appreciate any kind of guidance you could give us on who we should be reaching out to. And they will be more than happy to provide you with a list of people that you should contact. And it'll make your life so much easier because you don't have to go and figure out how you're going to Google and how you're going to search for it. They will help you. But the main thing is you want somebody, even on the list that they give you, it's just a list of people who do that kind of work. Some of them do it in stormwater, some of them don't. So you want to still ask, even though they were on that list, do you have your post-construction B&P? That's a very important question to ask. So first step is, once you receive the violation, you respond. Second is you seek quotes. A lot of times when people communicate with me, when people call me and say, hey, we need somebody to come out and do some work on our ponds, they're hesitant to tell me that it's a notice of violation. That's important for me to know. Not because I'm going to jack the price up, but because my rate is my rate. I'm not going to jack it up because I know that you're in a notice of violation. Now, if it needs to be hurried up and I've got to push clients around, then yeah, you're going to pay for that extra service. But typically, I'm not going to charge more because you have a notice of violation. Maybe some people would, I don't. But I need to know that it's a notice of violation because I'm going to be careful in the wording that I use. And if I go into a pond and I know that they're looking for A, B, C to be done, I got to be careful when I find problem D. And we don't want to make it so that now you have to take care of D along with the other three things. So it helps me in how to navigate through communication when there's a notice of violation. I'm sure that most stormwater professionals would prefer to know that. However, if you think, hey, this guy's he's a jackleg, he's gonna charge me extra, then you don't have to tell him that. But typically, like if you lie to me and tell me that you don't have a notice of violation, once I get out and do the inspection, I'm gonna know pretty quick based on the words that you're using. So I would go ahead and be honest with that. So respond to the regulator, contact qualified vendors, and then again, communicate to the regulator again. Hey, we found somebody. Most likely, you found somebody that says, hey, I can't be here for 60 days. And the notice of violation says you have 30 days to get it done. Don't pay that extra fee yet to hurry, the hurry up fee, the expediting fee. Don't pay that yet. What you want to do is say, okay, tell the regulator, hey, we have somebody, however, they can't be in here for another 60 days. And it took us 15 days to find them, so we only have 2 weeks left before our 30 days is up, and they're not going to be here for another 60 days from now. And generally the regulator will, especially if they know the person that you've called and they've worked with them before, they know that they're a reputable company, they will say, that's fine, I will carry on my communication from here on out with that vendor. And they will let me know when it's done. As long as I know that you have a signed contract, we're good. So communication is the key. Finding somebody who is qualified is another key. And then once it's done, get pictures for your own record and send those pictures back to the county or to the regulator. And then you need to find somebody who can do routine maintenance, because once you've been hit, it's called a red flag property in the stormwater office, and they're going to inspect that a little bit more frequently. Typically it's once every 5 years, but if you've had some problems they're going to start going in there every year or every other year. So you need to get somebody in there to stay on top of that so that you are ahead of the regulator. Hope that helps. Hope that's beneficial for you. If you get a notice of violation, and it doesn't matter where you are in the country, don't hesitate to shoot me an email. And we'll see what we can do to help you and guide you through that process and make it as easy and painless for you as possible.